All right, I got to be honest with you. No exaggeration. This may be the best receiver class I've ever covered. Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Fuster King. Thank you guys always for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I'm wasting no time on this video. When these are your honorable mentions, guys like Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son, Roman Wilson, complete stud. We saw what he did in the national championship game. Tez Walker. I mean, the list goes on. Xavier Worthy. Malachi Corley is an honorable mention. Like, my draft community knows who Malachi Corley is. Jermaine Burton, honorable mention. Like, this is one of those drafts where it's like, let's get right into the rankings, because I'm gonna be honest with you. When I said that this is the deepest class that I've ever covered, I meant that. And on film, and let me just, I'm gonna put my name on it, because I'm not one of these people who just, I don't reach for clicks or just say things. You guys know me. If I stamp it, it's because I really believe it. There's going to be somebody who's drafting at the back of the draft who's going to get a receiver who I'm pretty sure is going to be better than one of these guys at the top of the draft, just because that's how deep these guys are. And people will say, oh, last year's class was deep. No, I like Quentin Johnson, but I didn't like his movement. I'm on record saying that his movement was kind of, and I like Zay Flowers, but he's a little guy. All these guys I'm about to cover, all true number ones. Let's get into the rankings right now. At number 10, Jaylen Pul. To me, Jaylen Pul is a physical beast. He was the Robin to Rome Odunze, but he can play. Like, he comes in and is instantly a number 2 for a team. He can play in the slide. He can play on the edge. He's a great route runner. The thing that I like about Polk so much is how physical he is. Physical after the catch, really snatches the ball from defenders, snatches the ball in the slant game, snatches the ball in the deep game. His body, he has an NFL body. And again, this is number 10. Those Washington receivers, all three of those guys, McMillan, Polk, Odunze, all of those guys are NFL ready. Jaylen Polk, number 10. Whoever drafts him, I got him in the second, third, late first grade, but he's not going to go that high. They're getting the true player. Jaylen Polk, number 2, Washington. She. Number 9, Ladd McConkey. I don't look at Ladd and say, oh, the white route runner receiver, he's going to come in and be Hunter Renfrow. No, he has more to his game than that. Now, his issue is going to be the size. He's only 6 feet, and he'll probably measure out to be 5'11". But he has juice. He can run every route. One thing about him is, though, you're going to be slot exclusive only, but his ability in the slot is real, and he's bigger than most traditional slots. He played in a pro-style system in Georgia. I like Ladd McConkey. Like, I'm not going to knock him for being a white receiver. No, he can play. And this, you guys, I ain't racing nothing like that. I'm just keeping it real. Just like Cooper DeJean. He's going to be a guy, white, black, whatever. He can play. Ladd McConkey is a guy who I'm telling you now, he can go. Number 9. Whoever drafts this guy is getting a real steal. I really like him. He's number 9 on my ranking. Number 8, Aden N Mitchell. Now, to me, this guy is who I call the double move king. Texas receiver, 6'4". You saw it against Bama. You saw it against Oklahoma State. He can get you with a double move at that size. Once he got you, he's going to run past you. Now, he's not a blazer, but he has great body control to be 6'4". I call him a poor man's Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, that's not a knock on a player. He's just not as fast and explosive as Marvin Harrison Jr. But you see the route tree. You see him play big. Like, he plays 6'4". There are some 6'4" receivers who let corners get their hands on them. They don't stay involved in routes. That's not this guy. This guy will fit great here. I just think that he doesn't have the true explosion of some of these guys, and I'm going to get into the top 5, top 10. But make no mistake, he can definitely turn into a number 1. Like I said in the beginning, all of these guys on this top 10, outside of maybe Ladd, are true and can be true X receivers in the NFL. Mitchell is one of those guys for sure. This one kind of hurt my heart because he was on my first favorites, and that's Brian Thomas Jr. So for me to have him all the way at 7, that just lets you know how loaded this draft class is. I switched him with the guy that I'll be talking about next, 2 guys that I'll be talking about next. But this guy was he could probably have been a D1 basketball player, possibly could have even tried out in the league. I mean, he is a stud in basketball, and you see his game translate like that to football. You watch him, you watch Malik Neighbors. They're running on slot fade. It's basically a carbon copy of what they did with Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson. Like those LSU receivers just got it, man. Like Chase, those guys, Jamar Chase, those guys just got it, man. Brian Thomas, he has that feel. He is T. Higgins. Like, that's his game. He's a guy that comes in right now, and he's better than the twos that you have on your team because he's a big body that can run. And think about this. One thing I loved about him is he embraced that role of being the two to Malik Neighbors. Didn't complain. Whenever his number was called, he was able to work on his game, get better, and honestly make plays whenever his number was called. I like Brian Thomas Jr. I've been high on this guy. So for me to move him down, that just lets you know how loaded this class really is. Woo! Number 6, Xavier Leggett. This guy, I cannot wait to watch him at the Senior Bowl. To me, he has that Steve Smith on steroids vibe. Like the explosion, he's running away from defenders in the SEC. He is. You cut on the tape, he's still a little raw, but him and Spencer Rattler really just went on a tear at times this year. And the thing that I like about this player so much, I'll give y'all a little backstory. His first 3 years at South Carolina, like nothing. But he worked so hard this summer, worked on his route running, worked on every little thing, because he always had the talent. He was a 3-star a 3-star athlete coming out of coming out of high school, but he always had the talent. But he had to put it all together. He was able to do that, and he just exploded this year. You see the body. Like, he put on 14 pounds of muscle this offseason. You see the body. You see the way he runs after the catch. This guy's going to tear the Senior Bowl up. I had to move him up my rankings. Just watching the film, he jumps off the screen. Xavier Leggett, I'm telling you now, he would be a fit for any team. Any team right now, he would be a fit. He's just that explosive after the catch. All right, guys, number 5. If you've been in the draft community, you know who this guy is, man. Keon Coleman, transferred from Michigan State to Florida State. And the thing I like about Mike Norvell is he let this guy play football. Like, at Michigan State, they just had a leash on him. Let this guy play football. He was a punt returner at Florida State. Let him be the athlete that he is. He's not now. He is the one receiver on this list that isn't for everybody, because if you don't know how to use him, there's two receivers on this list. If you don't know how to use him correctly, because he's not a big separation guy. Like, he's not gonna wow you separation wise. But he's so physical. He catches everything. You're gonna have to know ball placement. You're gonna have to understand things like that. But this guy, man, another one who's ceiling. If let's say you draft him, let's say he falls for some reason, and you draft him, he goes to the right situation. He could be a guy year one. I'm gonna tell you this. He reminds me a lot of Puka Nacua. Number 4, Troy Franklin. I talked about him in my mock draft. I think that he's a guy who climbed up the rankings for me just because he's that fast, he's that nuanced. He's only a junior coming out. I wrote down his numbers, and for him to have, actually, let me turn the page. I wrote down his numbers because I just wanted to just show you guys just how crazy he went this year. I mean, he shows hands late. 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns. The touchdowns are what matters to me. You watched him in that Washington game, him and Roman Dunze going back and forth. But it's like certain guys are just born to play receiver. He looks like a twig out there. He's probably only going to be 195 pounds. I don't care. This guy is the route-running tall version of Deshaun Jackson. I don't like putting that on players, but this guy, Troy Franklin, he comes in like if Dallas, he would come in and be your blazer right away. But he also has the route running nuance and the separation nuance of like a Keenan Allen early on. Like those West Coast receivers, man, those guys just get it. He's one of those guys. Him and Bo Nix had a good year. He's special. He really, really is. This may be a shock to some of you all, but I have Malik Neighbors as my 1C. All right? There is no number 3, number 2, number 1 is 1C. Malik Neighbors. All I'm going to say is OBJ. The body control, he just makes everything look so it's just effortless. Like the guy was born to play football. And a funny fact is him and Rome Odunze actually battled in basketball and are from the same area in Louisiana. That guy is crazy after the catch, crazy route runner, never gets tired, sells double moves, catches everything, can run, makes you look stupid, has a swag as a player. He's going to go top 10. I won't say top 5 because the quarterbacks are going to get pushed up, but Malik Neighbors it's really about your flavor of ice cream. What do you like to eat? Do you like chocolate chips or do you like cookies and cream? I like cookies and cream. I like Malik Neighbors, but I don't like him as much as I like this next player. Rome Odunze to me is Devonte Adams. Body control, size, route running, physical, and a mean football player. I don't think that gets talked about enough. Rome Odunze is a mean football player. I had him on my first favorites, and that was in the middle of the college season, and all he did was kept getting better and better and better. Him and Michael Penix just got on a wavelength. I think this guy is going to help somebody's team immediately. And this is what I mean. All of these guys that I named come in right now and are probably better. And this is just the way that football is going. High school football, 7-on-7. These guys come in, they're so nuanced. They practice 10,000 hours. They put in so much time. These guys are ready right now. Rome Odunze, man, I just gave you guys the confidence. And I don't like putting that on players, but I feel that strongly about this player. Rome Odunze, he's again, mean, great route runner, great hands, fast. He checks all the boxes. That is my 1B in this wide receiver draft class. Number 1, we already know who number 1 is. You didn't have to watch this whole video to know that it's Marvin Harrison Jr. I wrote down, honestly, I never realized that a quarterback could honestly try to hurt their best player's stock in Kyle McCord. Like, you're watching balls get thrown behind him. He's still making plays. You're watching him beat guys. I'm watching the Maryland game. He has 2 steps on a guy. He's beat him. That Maryland game was so interesting because he caught 2 touchdowns back-to-back. One got called back. McCord forces it back in there, but because it's Marvin Harrison Jr., he gets the call again. I mean, he catches it again. Size, his comp is Julio Jones for me. Prime Julio Jones. I wasn't doing this when Randy Moss came out, but I would probably say that's his closest comp for me. Just being able to run like he can run, being that tall, having that amount of body control. And oh, by the way, his dad is Marvin Harrison. So, like, the genes are legit. And he's definitely a better player coming out than Marvin Harrison was. And that's not a knock. Marvin Harrison is a Hall of Famer. And his son has those type of abilities. It's just incredible who he is. And again, Kyle McCord tried to hurt his stock. And so, I mean, there's nothing that I can say that if you're watching this video, you know who Marvin Harrison Jr. is. And there's nothing that I can say that you guys probably already haven't heard. The biggest thing that I liked about this player, though, was through bad quarterback play, because there's a reason that Kyle McCord transferred at the end of this year. He kept trying to get better. He never complained. He never was a bad body language guy. I look for all those things. Marvin Harrison Jr. is my number 1 receiver in this. How this all ties into the Cowboys. Now, if you were just watching this because you wanted to get these rankings, that's great. And I think that you should use these and kind of, use it as a conversation piece. How this ties in for the Cowboys. I do not believe in window dressing your board or, oh, we need a linebacker, oh, we need a lineman, so we pass on one of these studs. I just told you this is the best receiver class that I've probably ever covered. If you have a guy that you have rated up there, fix your other needs in free agency, draft correctly. You only have, your top 3, and then you'll be sitting for a while. I don't care. If you have a guy who can come in as a definite upgrade, and I know people, you can get Mike Evans in free agency and you still could bring Brandon Cooks back. No. If you have a guy who could, you see what Rashee Rice is doing now for Kansas City as the years went on. You see what some of these young players, if you have a guy who can help you right now and is a better number 2 than Gallup or will be a better number 2 than Tolbert, because I think Tolbert is probably, his ceiling is probably like a Tyler Boyd. But if you have a guy who can be, I won't say Jamar Chase, but if he can be, a T. Higgins, then you draft him. And you pair him with CeeDee Lamb and you go tear the league up. It's your boy Foots as always, man. Thank you guys for liking, sharing, subscribing. I told you I'm working hard this draft season. I don't stop, and I'm here with y'all. Love y'all.